This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo is free, and it goes to Gibbs wide.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Brentford! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Tyler one, he scores! And the city ground goes ballistic! And he's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it. Yeah!
Hello and welcome to Red Side Trent, where we look to preview the Brentford game at the weekend, as well as reflect on the news of the profit and sustainability charges that we're facing. Delighted to welcome Reiss Lane as usual, and Alex Oates. Alex, you well?
I'm all right, mate. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Reiss, good?
Yes, good, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, all good, mate. I mean, we'll dive straight into the financial fair play stuff first of all, chaps, because it is a hot topic. I just wanted your thoughts both on it. I know Reiss spoke loads on the pod about whether it's going to come or not, and what about deductions. Maybe not quite on the pod, maybe in the group chat more so. But what's your initial thoughts on it all? Because there's obviously a lot of different opinions across all social media.
I think it was kind of clear, really, once it was coming with the rumblings, and then especially with us appointing a lawyer. You know, I know you kind of think a worst case scenario, but if there is something to answer for, then you think, well, let's get him in and get him ready to go, really. So, I mean, it is what it is now, mate. Really, we're kind of left in the dark, aren't we? We don't know what the punishment's going to be. The positive is we're kind of really a sideshow to Everton, aren't we? They're like the main whipping boys, and we're just like, oh, and it's Forest as well. So we'll have to see. We can talk all day about the rules of this and that and the crap and all this, but the rules are the rules, unfortunately. The Premier League clubs voted for these rules, and you've got to abide by them, I'm afraid, because if you don't, then this is what is going to happen with an independent regulator on the horizon. You know, they're going to show the teeth and look to basically, punish sides. And, we've fallen foul, and there is, arguments what we can put forward. Obviously, there's a Johnson trying to put that sale onto last year's accounts, and there's a few other bits and bobs because we're doing 2 years of championship money in that 3-year cycle. So we'll have to see. The positive is we've got one of the best lawyers on the job, haven't we? So that is a positive having him in his corner, but it's just a waiting game, really.
Yeah, Alex, what's your initial thoughts on it, and do you feel aggrieved at all towards the ownership at all?
Not towards the ownership. There's a lot of vitriol towards him online. It's irresponsible. This, that, and the other. Should it have happened? No, not under sort of anyone's watching the Premier League. But if the club has had a thought-out plan of earning the most from that Johnson sale, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to gain that extra income, because it's not a small amount we're talking about. It's 12.5 million quid at the end of the day. Brentford can come in with whatever silly low offer they normally come in with. But yeah, we waited for a deal, and we've ultimately been punished for it. The last couple of days, I'm bored of hearing about it, to be honest. I just want to crack on with the football side of things, and I think Nuno's in the same boat. I watched a press conference today. He was sort of not avoiding every question, but the bloke just wants to talk about football, and you can sort of understand that. And I think that's where a lot of us fans are now. It's down to the playing staff and the coaching staff to sort of dig us out of a mess that the back room's caused.
Yeah, I know it's like news like to potentially affect the team, but it's a bit unfair to ask a manager about like what they think. He's been in the job about 2 weeks or whatever. It's absolutely mental, really, when you think about it. But Reiss, do you think, regardless, even if say if the worst comes to worst and we get a points deduction, do you still kind of think we'll survive and crack on, or do you think it'll be fairly tight going forward?
I mean, just on the managers thing, yeah, I agree. I mean, you only have to look at Gareth Southgate nowadays, the England manager. Whenever he's got a press conference, it's all about off the field politics stuff. Most of it is that. We don't really see much about the football nowadays, do we? It was all about the One Love armband and the Wembley arch being lit up in Israel's colours and all sorts of stuff he's had to contend with. And it's obviously now the same with Nuno today. I mean, he's just a football manager, isn't he, financial advisor. So it all depends what the deduction is, really. If it is a deduction, that is, at the minute it is just a referral to an independent committee, independent panel, whatever you want to call them. They'll obviously go over it. We'll put our defence forward, obviously, with the lawyer DeMarco, and then it's up to them to decide what's what. It might just be a fine, which is like, you'd probably say slap on the wrist, wouldn't you? A fine. It might be, it might be 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 6 points, 10 points. We've no idea, So until that happens, mate, it's a hard question to answer. We're obviously hoping it's just kind of a fine and a slap on the wrist, but if it was anything like the 10 points what Everton got, then we'd be in major trouble for me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that puzzles me is it's the fact that we're in completely different goalposts to everyone else, whereas we can lose 61 million. Majority of the Premier League can lose the 105. You've got the odd few teams who've got 2 seasons under the belt now, like Brentford and Fulham and Burnley and people like that. Bournemouth, I think, fall under that bracket. But like, I know we've thrown a lot of mud at the wall and hope a lot of it stuck with transfers and that. And that is probably the one thing I do think Marinakis and like Marinakis Jr. are getting a lot of stick for, like players like Jesse Lingard and John Joe Shelvey, and it's coming out of all the wages, isn't it? That's the issue that you do have to give. You have to say, like, the ownership have to hold accountability, but at least they had a go. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what most fans are saying.
The rules are well intended. I think they've been in place for about 10 years now, but the football's changed so much in 10 years. I mean, you look at 10 years ago, and for say 50 million, we spent, well, if obviously all the clauses came into action, 45 million on Gibbs White, who's a young up and coming player. 10 years ago, that would probably buy you, like, I think Fernando Torres probably went 12 years ago, maybe for 50 million. And he was one of the best strikers in the Premier League at that point, for example. So the game's moved on. So while them rules were well intended, the fact that they're not changed at all, they do need to change going forward. But, the rules are the rules, and it's just one of them things. I mean, I think most Forest fans, like the Lingard signing, we all kind of said at the time, what was it, 5 million in wages? That's kind of nothing for Premier League. I think most people probably lapped up that signing, if I'm going to be honest. It was a kind of a signing one to, we're kind of back. Here we are. We're back after 23 years. There has been money wasted on other areas, but, it's all in hindsight, isn't it? It's easy to say this money's been wasted, that money's been wasted when, obviously now we're going to possibly face charges. But it's just striking that balance, isn't it? We could have probably spent, what we spent in total, 250 million maybe. See, we could have probably spent, say, 50 million less at 200 million, and that's, I'd say, pretty ambitious, and we would have been in the guidelines. So there's no real excuses for me. We should know what the guidelines are, and the fact we've fallen foul of them. It is poor accountancy, I'm afraid.
Let's get a last word on yourself, Alex, before we move on. And do you think we'll survive comfortably still, or do you think it'll be a tough one?
I was talking to a mate who's an Everton fan on Twitter earlier. I don't think we could have handpicked a better Premier League season to potentially have a points deduction. If this was last year, at this point I'd probably be preparing for a Championship season already next season. But the bottom 2 specifically are poor. They are really poor. Luton seem to have a bit more guile about him, a bit more fight about him. And again, that's credit to Rob Jones to what he's doing there. He's doing a fantastic job.
I wish it was Rob Jones. It's Rob Edwards.
Rob Edwards, not Rob Jones. Oh,
that's the referee.
His name's not left my head for. Oh, don't. That's for another day. Rob Edwards. Sorry. I'm in the dark here. But yeah, I think even if you take 10 points, That will put us, second bottom, and it's 6 behind Luton. Currently, they're on 16.
Yeah.
I think it's achievable. We've seen the last couple of weeks that we've got the ability to beat top sides. Go away to Newcastle, a place where City went behind and had to come from behind to win, and made it look less comfortable than we did. And now I'm not comparing us to City, never in a million years, but those sort of lines. And beating Man United at home for the first time in my lifetime. Great occasions, and there's nothing Nuno hasn't said or done so far that indicates that won't continue to happen and can't continue to happen. We just need injuries and AFCON to end.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Moussa Niakate actually recovered from that slight potential injury he had. I think he just went off with precaution, hopefully, and it seems like Taiwo could be back within a couple of weeks, hopefully amongst the group. But just before we move on, Alex, I've already spoke to Reiss about this on the pod. It looks like Mangala's going to go. It looks like Rennes are going to start the bidding war between themselves, Napoli and Juventus. What do you make on that? And where would you like the money invested?
I like Mangala. I really do. I think he's a comfortable ball player. However, he does have his limitations defensively. His defensive awareness is not great. But I've seen the Stade Rennais. They've put in an obligation to buy for 25 million euros. We've got 9 million to pay left on him?
I'm not sure on the
somewhere
details.
along those lines. But if we can recoup 25 million euros for him, if he's not in Nuno's plans, I think it's good money. But I do think we need a goalkeeper, and personally another left winger.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it doesn't look like we're going to go for a goalkeeper from what I've read. But we'll get into actual football now. So Forest head to the G-Tech for the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday Night Football. It's the return of Ivan Toney, coincidentally, though I do think he will be playing in the FA Cup replay potentially. Reiss, it couldn't have been better timing for the Sky cameras, could it?
Yeah, I think it was Christian, wasn't it, who said it's like as if it was kind of lined up, wasn't it, really? I don't think he's playing tonight, mate. No, he isn't in the squad, so it's his first game. No, just checking that. Yeah, it's kind of lined up, isn't it, for his big return, and all their fans can sing Hey Jude, and after he scored the winner, and Sky can wax lyrical of how good it is. But it's something we're going to have to deal with. It's going to give them a boost because he's definitely their best player. He's a really good, striker at this level. He would have been an England international had he not had this ban. Some might say harshly. So obviously we've got to be wary of him. But we'll have to see. Hopefully, I know he's apparently scored a few goals behind closed doors friendly against B teams, but scoring against them and the match sharpness to the Prem is a lot different. So hopefully he'll be a little bit rusty and we can obviously keep him quiet. But we can't just worry about him. We've got to impose ourselves on the games Brentford are in. Not going to say 3-4, but really struggling at the minute. So, they'll be at home. I imagine they'll be favourites with the bookies. So the pressure will be on them to put on a good performance at home and beat us. So we've got to go there, impose ourselves on the game and come away with a positive result. And I think we can do that if we play how we did at Newcastle.
Yeah, well, Ivan Toney's not played Murillo, has he, Alex?
No, and I wouldn't want to either. Stride for stride, pace-wise, I think Murillo's got him. It's Ivan Toney's aerial presence that worries me. Murillo's not poor in the air, don't get me wrong, but partnering with Worrell, who's also not brilliant aerially, he's prone to a few lapses in concentration. But I think Murillo could do a job on him. Again, strength-wise, pace-wise, with Brentford currently, if you can manage to keep Toney quiet without Mbermo, Wissa, I think we could have success there. And why not bring home 3 points?
Yeah, I mean, so unfortunately, we couldn't get a Brentford fan to do the preview as we would normally, but they've lost their last 5 games in a row. They're missing Rico Henry, Brian Mbuemo, Johan Visser, Aaron Hickey, Josh Da Silva, and Christopher Ayer, who are all pretty much starters, or at least definitely players that you bring off the bench on a regular basis, Reiss. I mean, this is as good a time as to play them as when we went to Crystal Palace earlier in the season, I'd say.
Yeah, and what did we do at Palace? We let
we
them
should have won. We should have won.
Yeah, we should have won, mate. With respect to Steve, as much as I love the guy, I think if that game was under Nuno, we would have won with what I've seen so far. As I know it is early days, but yeah, that was a game we should have won, mate. Really, you look at that game, the Luton game, probably I think is a 2, wouldn't you? Really, I mean, the Burnley one you could say as well, but we was actually quite poor that night, and Burnley probably deserved to win on the night. Really, yeah. I guess so. It's just like I said in the last comment, it's that boost of Tony coming back. They need it because, like you've just said, Adam, was it 5 defeats in a row? They failed to beat 10-man Wolves at home in the FA Cup. Obviously, that replay is going on tonight. So, hopefully tonight they'll get another defeat. Obviously, travelling midweek as we are. So we'll have to see. But they've got. They've been at the Premier League. It's the 3rd year, I think, now at this level into Brentford.
Yeah.
So that they've obviously got good quality players aside from Ivan Toney, and until the last half a dozen games, there was comfortably mid-table. Really, it's just they've had a proper dip, haven't they? So, yeah, I mean, losing in Mbuemo is a massive one. I mean, a massive one for the FPL guys as well, because I had him in my team for quite a while, and he was a good scorer in Mbuemo. So that's a massive miss for him, and obviously this is kind of in and out a bit, isn't he? But they've got Lewis Keane Potter, who will. Or Keane Lewis Potter, whatever way round it is. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, Keane Lewis Potter.
Keane Lewis Potter, he's not really kind of got going, as he had to say, Premier League. So he'll be wanting, if he can get a run in the team, to make an impression. So they still have plenty of dangerous players. It's still going to be a tough game. At this level, there's good players throughout every squad, isn't there, really? Apart from probably you 2 in the bottom 3, you'd say.
Definitely. Alex, it's a chance for back-to-back away wins. The last one, obviously, coming back off going to St. James's on Boxing Day and beating them 3-1 for a Chris Wood hat-trick. How do you see us approaching the game?
I still think it's early days with Nuno, isn't it? It's hard to say whether we'll go there with the sole intention of counter-attacking. But if we're going to win the game on Saturday, I think it's going to be won in midfield. They've got Norgard, the other Norwegian, coming back. I know he played the other day. I can't remember his name.
Jensen and Janelt, isn't it?
Matthias Jensen, yeah. But if we're not going to be water bottle off. If we're going to have success, I think it's going to come down the wings because their main fullbacks are out. Hickey on the right, Henry on the left. He's been out for a while. They were playing Godos there. He's away at the Asia Cup. So they've been playing Janelt at left back. I can't remember who else at right back.
Roeslev.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I'm not sure Alanga's going to be available, which is going to be a big miss for us. But, Callum getting minutes under his belt, he's starting to look like a Premier League player again. So he's picking up a lot of confidence. But yeah, I think the main battle's in midfield. If we can win the midfield battle, I think we'll have success.
Would you agree with that, Reiss, or would you think any different? Do you think maybe Brentford might look at it and go, well, actually, we might have to play on the counter with the amount of absentees they have?
We've kind of got to use that to our advantage, haven't we? Which is what we didn't really do at Palace. I know we dominated that game, but we didn't do enough. So, like Alex has just said, they've got Hickey and Henry out. I know, Rico Henry's raved about. I know a lot of Brentford fans reckon he should be in the conversation for England. So, to have them 2 out there starting full-backs and basically having, square pegs in round holes, as a former manager used to say, we've got to have a go at him. I mean, Alanga wasn't really in the training pictures, was he, today for the Blackpool game? So I don't know whether that's a case of he's not going to be available for the weekend, or it's more of a case we're going to save him for the weekend. So hopefully he's fit. Yeah, well, hopefully he's fit because he's a big player for us, up there with his main players at the minute. So we'll have to see. It's going to be an intriguing game because it's a game really where I don't think both sides will want to lose. It's kind of why I predicted a draw really on the pod on was it Sunday when we did it?
Yeah.
But we've got to kind of take the jugular and try and win that game because, as I said again on the pod on Sunday, if we do win at Brentford, which we bloody should have done last year until we imploded, it'd be a massive, especially with the news this week, it would be a massive 3 points for us. And Nuno's got to kind of do what Everton have done now and kind of create a little bit of a siege mentality and give us that extra, push from their push of having Ivan Toney back.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth with that one. Alex, I know Brett, you mentioned it earlier with Ivan Toney's aerial threat and probably his ability to bring players into play. Do you look at like Joe Worrell and more than likely Matt Turner being our main weaknesses? Because we alluded to so many times when we've talked about Matt Turner on this pod about how we got away with one against Johan Visser at the City Ground where he booted him into the air and they didn't give a penalty.
Yeah. Every time Turner plays, he worries me. Not to be horrible against the bloke, but I don't see him as a solid number one. I don't think any Forest fan does. It's not just his kicking. It seems his confidence is on the floor at the minute. And a goalkeeper with no confidence is not a great one to have behind a defence with half a partnership that's barely played this season. But with Worrell, it's hard to say because we were away at Chelsea earlier on in the year, picked up 3 points there, and he was probably man of the match. But then you see different games come on against Luton and had an absolute stinker against Adebayo. Again, big aerial threat, strong lad, technically good with his feet as he showed. And Tony's no different, if not better. I think it'll be a struggle if Frank pins Toney on Worrell. But I'm not sure how they're going to line up. Is it a 3 up front? They'll go Lewis Potter one side, Toney up front, someone on the right.
I think they've been playing 3-5-2, I think. So, yeah, I thought Lewis Potter would partner him maybe or play left wing back himself, to be honest.
Yeah, well, like you say, Tony's brilliant at bringing players into touch with himself and having players playing off him. Lewis Potter's a problem. His pace is a problem. But again, I think on our right-hand side, we've got enough there to sort of combat that. But yeah, Toney he's a big problem for any central defender in this league, let alone one that's barely played.
Yeah, definitely. Reiss, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's always been the same, hasn't it, with Joe? He's shown that he can play at this level, but it's just what he hasn't shown is he can do it consistently. Alex hit the nail on the head there. The Chelsea game, he was man of the match, amongst a few others as well who were up there. And then he goes into the Luton game where he makes an error like he did, and that's the problem at this level. You have to be consistent. You can't have one good game, one bad game. You've got to be out of 10, have 8 good games or 8, 7 out of 10s and be pretty consistent. I'd say Willy Bolly's pretty much that, who we've had, we picked up, 2.5 million. You can probably say 8 times out of 10, he's pretty solid. The only caveat I'll give back to Alex's comment on Turner is, to be fair, after he did make the mistake against Manchester United, he could have kind of just gone into his shell and he was coming out for crosses and he actually caught them, to be fair. Vlachodimos was in goal for Blackpool. I'm not sure whether he'll be in goal again tomorrow night, but hopefully, I'm not going to change my opinion. I do think we need a new number one. But if Turner is going to be in goal, hopefully he can take some confidence for the fact that he came back from adversity in that Man U game and got us over the line, because it would have been very, very easy for him to have made another mistake, and he didn't, to be fair to him. So, you've got to be positive and, hopefully he can, I know his kicking's, I can't get away from his kicking, but you're just kind of hoping that isn't going to, it's just got to do, I know Nuno wants to play out from the back, but you've just got to do the basics sometime, haven't you? I'd generally just rather him oof it up the pitch if it means dilly-dallying on the ball, because if he can't do that, just clear your lines, for goodness sake, because you can't be trying to attack splitting pass like he did against Man U and it just get cut out how it did, because he's just not got the confidence to do that with his feet at the minute. Stick to your basics and build from there.
Well, it's the old saying of if in doubt, kick it out, isn't it?
Ideally up the pitch, not into the stand.
Yeah, I mean, like it's what like Alan Rodgers was saying about it breeding confidence throughout the whole side. So yeah, it is definitely an area we have to address at some point. Where I don't think we'll do it this January. I don't think there'll be anyone available that's going to be better without forking out ridiculous amounts of money. So, but for me, I think key is obviously it's going to be Gibbs White. I think if he can pick up pockets of space, because I expect Brentford to flood that midfield. I expect him to play a 3 in there and have someone sitting and getting Gibbs White on the ball as much as possible is absolutely key for me. So, and hopefully Elanga is fit enough to play, because it would be nice to see that front 3. But we are going to go into a lineup prediction. Alex, I'm going to put yours up on the screen first and I'll read it out for the audio listeners. So you've got a fancy app here, Alex. I mean, me and Reiss is not as fancy as this. But you've gone for Matt Turner in goal, Gonzalo Montiel at right back, Joe Worrell, Murillo at centre halves, Nuno Tavares at left back, Danilo and Yates in centre mid, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs White, Dominguez on the left in that auxiliary kind of asymmetric, I'm assuming, and Chris Wood up top. What's your thoughts on that? Especially like Tavares, I look at that and I wonder like how come you've gone with him rather than Toffolo?
Last few games, I think against Blackpool, Tavares came on and made a good impact going forwards. Granted, against a lesser opposition than what Brentford are going to have. But it'd be interesting to see how many minutes Toffolo's had under Nuno, because I don't think it's all that many, is it? He started with Aina away at Newcastle, and he started again with him at Manchester United at home. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
I believe he played against Bournemouth though, didn't he, Reiss? You're on mute, pal.
Yeah, he started against Bournemouth, wasn't in the squad for Newcastle, then had 4 minutes against Manchester United and a half against Blackpool. So, yeah, that's it. Basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be completely honest with you. That left back spot for me, it would be Toffolo all day. I love the bloke going forward defensively. He's just a really solid left back. But Tavares, again, if we're looking to play on the counter attack against Brentford, which again is unsure, I think Tavares has his uses. He's very quick. He was good with the ball at his feet. We've seen in France that his deliveries into the box, very, very good. Again, could be useful for someone like Chris Wood. With Hudson-Odoi sat just in front of him, it could cause all manner of problems down that Brentford's right-hand side.
Yeah, I think what I like about Tavares is he will overlap quite happily, and it gives Hudson-Odoi if he goes on that left to cut in and that. But do you know with I want your opinion on Dominguez and Danilo thing, and Reiss, feel free to drop in. Would you like Danilo to maybe make that overlap and run into that left wing spot a bit more, and Dominguez kind of then come and cover in centre midfield to almost, I don't know, it kind of throws people off, doesn't it, sometimes, where suddenly you've got a centre midfielder running out into that space and swapping and changing. I don't know if that's something that might get picked up on or not.
Yeah, well, Danilo's had pelters this year so far, hasn't he?
He's not lived up to the hype as he did last year at the moment, has he?
Yeah, he's been below sort of what his standards reached last year. But there's definitely a player in there. I think a lot of people are forgetting he's only 21, 22. He's still young. Again, he's still adapting to the league. But like you say, if we could push him further forward, I mean, if we were playing a midfield 3, ideally, you'd play him as an 8. Linking up on the left-hand side with the winger, make him runs in behind Gibbs White, like it was last year. Again, he got 3 goals on the trot. Who was it? Brighton, Southampton. Brighton, Southampton, and Brentford. Yeah. So he's shown he's got an eye for goal. He's good going forwards, but yet to see sort of the solidity needed to play in a 2. But I think that's where Yates comes in. I think Yates does a lot of the nitty-gritty work in that midfield too, defensively, that sort of allows Danilo to get on the ball and sort of progress it. I'd just like to see more of it.
Yeah, definitely. Reiss, we're going to bring your line up. You've gone Vlachodimos in goal, Gonzalo Montiel, Felipe fit, Murillo, Toffolo at the back, Dominguez and Yates in midfield, and then the four that we would like to see, obviously, when Awoniyi's back fit, is Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Chris Wood. We're hoping that Elanga is fit. What's your thinking with there, and what makes you think that Vlachodimos might keep his spot?
Well, this is my team. What I said I wanted to play, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, kind of. So I'll start with the keeper. I mean, it kind of depends, really, I guess, on tomorrow night. If Vlachodimos makes a few good saves and keeps a clean sheet, then I think he might get a nod. But if it was, if we was to concede again against Blackpool and he doesn't make any saves again, I think Nuno will probably stick with Turner. I expect him to stick with Montiel. The left back one, I mean, Nuno Tavares is a bit of a kind of forgotten man, isn't he? So that will be interesting. See if he plays tomorrow night. Obviously, because Ireland's now at AFCON. I mean, Felipe. I mean, I'm just holding hope on him, but I'd imagine it'll be Joe Worrell. Like Alex said earlier, then my concern is just Worrell dealing with a big man in Tony. But we'll kind of see on that. And again, going to the forward six, I mean, it depends if Elanga's fit. If, I would obviously have Elanga on the right and Hudson-Odoi on the left. If Elanga isn't fit, then it's going to be like Hudson-Odoi on the right and Dominguez probably on that left with Danilo probably in the centre midfield instead. So it just kind of depends on injuries, doesn't it? It's kind of really hard to say at the minute. I think the goalkeeper's up for debate. The left back's up for debate. I think that three behind Wood, if they're fit, are going to play. And then you could argue whether it be Dominguez and Danilo probably partnering Yates. Because Mangala, if the rumours obviously are true and stuff, that kind of, you can't imagine him really being involved much. You'd imagine he might be on the bench. I'm not sure, but we'll just have to see, mate. Really. I think things depend on tomorrow night. To be honest, a few of them. Because if Flash and Tavares play really well tomorrow night, then let him keep the shirt for Saturday for me.
Do you feel a little bit hard done by for Nico Williams, chaps? Because I thought he was really good, like previously coming at Newcastle, made a slight error, but was largely okay. Did really well against Bournemouth.
He's another one who, if he played tomorrow night, which is a possibility, he could. I think he probably will do, and if he plays well and he keeps a shirt for Saturday, I'm absolutely fine with that personally. It is someone we've given stick to on this podcast, and I think at times quite fair because of the money he's coming at. And then the last few games he has started, he's shown why we spent that money on him, because I think for a period of time he hasn't shown enough personally. But on the last few games, I thought he's been excellent. So you can feel a little hard done by for him because he, probably was in the best little purple patch of his Forest career. But then Montiel's come back and he's also done well. So yeah, it's good. It's good options to have. It gives Nuno a bit of a headache, and we'll see on tomorrow night, because if some of these squad players come in and stink the place out, then they're going to be just squad players, aren't they? They'll be on the bench Saturday, and we'll be back to what we pretty much played against Man United as much as we can.
Would you ever hate the fact, Alex, of maybe playing Nico Williams in more of an advanced role? So it meant if Elanga isn't fit enough, then Callum Hudson-Odoi can go play on his favoured left-hand side and cut, and then Williams can be that kind of player that will, because he likes to get forward. Montiel likes to get forward as well. It kind of, they can both chop and change. You kind of don't know who's going forward then, do you?
No, I like Williams. Again, exactly the same as everybody else. I've given him some stick at times, but with a big price tag comes sort of big expectations. He hasn't lived up to it completely, but as Reiss said, last few games he's played, he's been really, really good. I wouldn't be opposed to see him sort of further up the pitch. His delivery into the box is excellent. He's not afraid of sort of squaring up a man and trying to beat him. But if you can have someone like Montiel overlapping on that right hand side, I think there's cause for success there. I could just say the team Reiss bought is the one I'd much rather see. I'd much rather see Reiss than mine. But it's just what I thought is probably going to be played because unfortunately I don't think Alanga's going to be fit.
Yeah. Adam kind of asked me what team I'd play. I did ask him, or what team do you think? Because my team, what I'd play and what I think it'll be is completely different. It's probably 4 or 5 changes.
It obviously comes on availability. I mean, my team is pretty much the same as Alex's, apart from I've had Toffolo at left back and that. But I've gone for Toffolo because I feel like I feel like Brentford will target Tavares if he's there because of his defensive capabilities, maybe, and I feel like Toffolo is a little bit more reserved in that sense. But then again, Dominguez and Danilo can kind of help out, and you've got Murillo on the cover there. I like it because Nuno's got options, but I also like it because I feel like we're kind of getting to a point now where you know what he's going to play, and I feel like we never got that with Steve Cooper, and I think that kind of does help in terms of getting your consistency. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, Reiss, you come in first for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it on the pod for a while, didn't we? Understood that we didn't really know what kind of way we was going to play, but with Nuno, it's going to be pretty much 4-2-3-1, and it's going to be, obviously on the counter attack with that pacey front three behind Chris Wood, who's going to kind of be your poacher / target man, I guess, if it's obviously crossed into the box for the headers, and then if it's low in the box for the tap-ins. And we've spoken about if a striker can be in the right position for 10 tap-ins a season, then we're on to something good. So, I'll have to see. I'll have it. Alex, have a say.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I think it's a lot more predictable to see what Nuno's going to do. Particularly, I know Niakarte's away currently, but he seems to have settled on. Pardon me. He seems to have settled on Murillo and Niakarte as a centre-back partnership, which again, Niakarte's been brilliant the last couple of games. We saw him against Villa, what he can do, what he can be. Both are very, very good with the ball at the feet. Excuse that. Both are very good with the ball at the feet. 2 left-footed centre halves isn't a problem to have. The good left-footed centre halves are hard to come by these days, and fortunately, we've got 2 available to sort of put in the same back four.
I mean, I think what will be interesting to see is because of how Brentford's absentees are, whether we maybe take the game to them and be a little bit more progressive in terms of actually like having a foothold and having a lot of the possession, maybe. Because I actually thought the opening goal against Man United was actually really well worked and really, really patient build-up play from us. And I mean, Ryan Yates with the splitting pass into Elanga before it went to Montiel and then before Dominguez put it in. It kind of gives me a lot of hope and excitement going forward, really, especially if we're doing that against sides like Man United, then it bodes really well for the rest of the season. Let's just hope that the financial stuff and the stuff off the pitch doesn't kind of take centre stage and the football does all the talking and we have a good second half of the season. But I think we've kind of hit every nail on the head there, chaps. It's been a good one. I'm looking forward to Saturday. Might see you both in the crowd down there at the G-Tech, or you might be disguised as one of the seats that they've got.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? It's a dreadful stadium. I was talking to a Brentford fan I know, and it's criminal that they've moved from Griffin Park because that was by far and away my favourite away day.
Pub on every corner, isn't they? And
it was unbelievable. Terraced in the bottom.
Yeah, what did your friend say about the move? Does he not like the new ground?
Obviously it's bringing more fans in there for more revenue. But no, I think if you gave every Brentford supporter an option, I think 10 out of 10 would choose Griffin Park any day of the week.
Yeah, it's similar with us, isn't it? I think with us, obviously, with like the main standard, that the facilities aren't up to Premier League standard, but it's just that nostalgia into it. But unfortunately, sometimes in football, you have to kind of go with the times. And I mean, Brentford's ground, I liked Griffin Park as well, but it was kind of that derelict, wasn't it? It was the only other option. was to build a new ground. At least with us, we've kind of got like 2.5 stands. You'd probably say what are up to scratch if they obviously raise the Bridgeford up. So,
Griffin Park was a League 1/2 ground at best, but it was again it was the last of a. It's
very similar to Kenilworth Road, isn't it?
Exactly that. Character in football grounds is just disappearing. It's a shame to see it, but yeah, like you say, I hope we never move. But if the ownership accommodate that and feel it's gonna increase our revenue do. Who are we to say no? It's one of those.
Yeah, I mean, well, Reiss said 1-1 on the pod, I believe, wasn't it, Reiss? 2-2. Desmond, Alex, what's your score prediction? Because we've gave ours, so it's only right that we give you your say.
I am going to go 2-1 Forest.
2-1 Forest. Hopefully that will come to fruition. Get Brentford down closer to the bottom, and as up the league. That would be lovely, and a positive start. Oh well, a continuing good start to 2024. Hopefully we'll go through in the cup, and you get your little trip to Ashton Gate, Reiss.
Ironically, they've just gone ahead, Brentford.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Wolves are going to be fuming about that.
And it's actually Nathan Collins as well. He's played for Wolves, isn't he?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just scored.
He had a stinker in the first leg, didn't he? Was it the first leg or the league game? Oh, it was awful. Yeah.
League game it was. He was dreadful.
He was woeful.
I've not watched much of Brentford this season, to be honest. Apart from
Just
obviously when we played them, I don't bother watching that. Very, very rare. No, I generally don't. I can't really remember watching on Sky this season, so we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at a few of their possession. Sorry, Adam. Just looking at a few of their possession stats, and like they got beat at home the other week by Wolves 4-1, but they still have like over 60% possession. So,
all right, fair enough. Well,
so the counter attack might be the way to go for us.
Yeah, definitely.
That was the game I was referring to. But thinking about it, sort of off the cuff, Brentford have got mistaken defensively. If that Wolves game's anything to go by, because there was 2 or 3 defensive mistakes that led to goals there. High pressure, and go for it and see what we can do.
I don't think they fancy their keeper either, that Flecken. I mean, I think they said they should have saved the Dominguez goal at home.
Yeah, it was a strange one, that was, wasn't it? I think you could have, kind of got a Rizzler paper, couldn't you, under his jump, really? Very Peter Shilton against Maradona kind of jump.
Oh, and we know how much he loves to hear about that.
Jump tire.
Yeah, well, that's going to be it for this one on Red Side Trent. Alex, thanks very much for coming on and chatting to us.
Thanks for having me on.
I know
you're
very popular on the X, as the kids call it these days.
I wouldn't say popular. Oh,
I mean, you cause a stir, and I quite like it. So we'll get you on more for some more housery.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you boys.
No worries. Reiss, see you Sunday for the review. Hope you're hugging each other in the stands. Come about 7:30 or whatever that we've won.
That'll be a change for me, won't it? In the way ends.
Definitely. Well, we'll see you in the next one. Come on.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.